guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm filming my June rankings video and I have over 20 palettes to rank today. I will say I did cheat a little bit and I'm ranking a whole group of palettes together in one spot, and hopefully that'll make sense to you guys when I explain myself. So if you want to see my June rankings, then just keep watching. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Karen Harris. I like to do monthly ranking videos, first impressions on new eyeshadow palettes, as well as anti-hauls and declutters on my channel. If all that old school YouTube type content interests you, then this is definitely the place for you. Highly recommend subscribing to my channel, turning on that bell because I do post quite often, so I would hate for you to miss anything new from me. And without further blabbering, let's get into it. Okay guys, this month was hard. I feel like when I look at the months so far, June was by far one of the best months for new makeup releases, especially in the eyeshadow palette category. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely biased towards eyeshadow palettes, and there were so many good ones this month. It is it's like the wild west out here. Anyway, let's start off in the last place. So this is number 20. I'm grouping these palettes together because honestly, I never want to use them again. These are two palettes that I got from Look Fantastic. They sent these over for Pride Month, and I created a look in collaboration with them. And it's not like they're the worst. It's just like the color stories are very like bleh, and then the metallics were very bleh, and overall, I just feel very blah about these compared to the other ones in this video. This rainbow palette, it's all mattes, and honestly, this was the worst. I'm really bummed, but there is a really good rainbow palette in this video. So honestly, good riddance. I am just going to hold on to these just in case I need to reference them in a future video or something like that. But overall, very disappointed. First time trying the brand. I will say their face products are much more impressive than their eyeshadow palettes. So these ones are in the 20th spot. Okay, so in 19th place, honestly, I will say I've only used this palette once, so I do need to try and give it another shot. But the experience was very similar to the experiences I've had with some of the other Norvina palettes I've tried. I love the regular ABH eyeshadow formula. I know it's not for everyone. Some people can't stand that formula, but for me, it's always been reliable. I've been buying ABH eyeshadow palettes for years and years and years, and they've always been consistently good, except for Subculture. They even redeemed themselves with that one because they redid the formula, and it's such a good palette. But the Norvina formula is just not for me. It's not my favorite. I don't think it's opaque enough. I don't think it's easy to blend. And I'm just kind of disappointed by the formula. So I will definitely give this another try, either in a video or in my spare time, depends on whatever comes first. But just based off of that first time I used it, I was really not impressed. So this is in the 19th spot. Okay, so in 18th place is the Melt Brunette palette. This palette, I mean, I don't really know what I was expecting, to be very honest with you guys, because first of all, these four shadows are just so blah, and then we have these shadows, and there's only 3 metallics in the whole palette. But I think what really bothers me about this palette is I feel like the mattes are warm tone, and then the 2 darker metallics are more cool tone. So on my complexion, the combination just looked really strange. Like, it looked like the colors didn't match or go together, which if I'm doing a neutral eye look, I really like for there to be a really beautiful smoky gradient. And I didn't get that vibe from this one. So honestly, that's why I'm ranking it so low. And also, I really love having a really nice deepening up shade with my neutral palettes, because I love doing like neutral smoky eyes and stuff like that for work. So I feel like there's a few things that this palette is lacking, and overall I really regret purchasing this palette. So I know Melt is so good at being inconsistent, and the Brunette palette is the perfect example of why. Okay, in 17th place is another disappointing neutral palette. Honestly, I feel like this palette is getting so much hype, but I don't get the hype. I don't. This is the Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette. It's called the Major Dimension eyeshadow palette, and it's almost $70, which I feel like if I was recommending a neutral palette in that price range, I would steer you towards the Natasha Denona Zendo or the Bronze palette. I love both of those palettes, and I also really like the Sigma Beauty Ambiance palette. Like, there's so many good neutral palettes for so much cheaper than this one. So again, another disappointing palette. I just don't feel like there's enough dimension in this one. The metallics are not very good. I feel like they're very kind of chunky and they're kind of dry, and I prefer my metallics to be very smooth and creamy. So yeah, we're ranking this one at number 17. Okay, so in 16th place is the Barbie palette from ColourPop, and I love the nostalgia of this. I think it's so cute, and of course if you grab this on sale, it's a really great price point. But I will say that the new Lush Life palette I think is just so much better than this palette. I really like that formula. I really like that color story. So if I hadn't tried the Lush Life palette, I feel like I would have ranked this a little bit higher than where it is now. But now that I know that ColourPop is actually capable of producing really great palettes, it makes me wonder what happened with this one. Okay, in 15th place is the Puerto Rico palette. This is a Party in Puerto Rico by BH Cosmetics. This was a part of their travel series launch, and honestly, this is decent formula for BH Cosmetics, but the other palette, the Paris palette, is so much better. Again, the metallics are just so much creamier, and the mattes are beautiful, and overall, I feel like the color story is more sophisticated. In the Paris palette, I feel like any brand could have done this color story, so that's why I'm kind of ranking it a little bit lower. So it's a nice attempt from BH, but definitely not enough to get this in the top 10 for me. Okay, in 14th place is the Lunar Beauty Facelift palette. Now this is a revamped version of his Life's a Drag palette, and I really like that this launched during Pride Month, and I feel like it was a really nice, you know, attempt to honor where the brand started and show the growth we've seen in Lunar Beauty. I will say I've only used this palette once. I definitely need to use this some more because I've only used the neutral side, and I want to film a video trying out the colorful side, so that's on my ever-growing list of things to film. From the side I've tried, I wasn't really impressed. I feel like I know Lunar Beauty is capable of so much better than this formula. I had a hard time blending the mattes, and I really wish there were more shimmer shades because I do really like his shimmers. So yeah, this palette honestly gets like a B- for me. So again, just not good enough to hit that top 10 in my rankings this month. Okay, so the next two palettes are older palettes that I've talked about before on my channel, but you guys have always given me the feedback that you enjoy when I incorporate old palettes in with some of the new palettes. So 13th place is the Pat McGrath Celestial Divinity palette. This was recently on sale. I hope some of you grabbed it if you didn't grab it when it first launched, but this palette is so good. I know people have such mixed emotions when it comes to Pat McGrath. I had asked on Instagram what some of you thought was the most overhyped makeup brand, specifically eyeshadow brand, in the beauty community, and I did see a lot of Pat McGrath. I saw a lot of Natasha Denona. I saw a lot of Juvia's Place. I was really shook. You guys were really coming for me in that post, but I feel like Pat McGrath definitely has its place in the beauty community. When you think of all of the luxury brands, because I do feel like she is mostly a luxury brand, I feel like her formula is definitely the best among the luxury brands, because otherwise you're really just comparing it to like Tom Ford and like Dior and stuff like that. And I've tried some Tom Ford quads and Dior quads, and I really don't get why those are hyped up. So I'd rather pay Pat McGrath prices and get the Pat McGrath palettes, but that's just my humble opinion. Anyway, this palette was $75, and this was our holiday launch, and one fine day I was sitting there getting ready for work, and I didn't have a new palette to play with, so I was like, let me play with that Celestial Divinity palette. I haven't touched it in a while, and I had really good luck. The mattes blend beautifully, the metallics apply wonderfully. So I'm very happy with this palette, and so I'm ranking it at number 13. Okay, so in 12th place is the only rainbow palette you need if you're looking for a matte rainbow palette. This is the Blends palette by Blend Bunny. Kind of reminds me of that Viseart matte palette that they have, but this is way less pricey. I think this is the only product this brand currently has, and I really like this palette. It's so fun. I think I used this with, I'm trying to remember, I played with this and my Lore palette actually, and that's coming up too in this video from Alien Cosmetics. Such a beautiful palette, but I wanted to play with the green eyeshadow in the Lore palette, so I used some of the beautiful green mattes in this palette. I don't want to talk too much about this Blends palette because I have talked about this in quite a few of my ranking videos, and this is just a solid indie matte eyeshadow palette if you're looking for one. Okay, in 11th place is this little cutie. This is the Nabla Analog palette, and I recently got this in a Trend Mood box. This is why I'm ranking this a little bit higher than some of the other neutral palettes. I feel like we have so many mid-tone neutral palettes, and this deepening up shade is what both the Melt palette and the Patrick Ta palette didn't have. Also, the mattes are beautiful, and so are the metallics, and I really like Nabla's little cutie palette. So yeah, we're ranking this at number 11. Okay friends, it's time for the top 10 palettes. Pause this video and comment what you think my favorite palette of June 2021 is. Do it right now. I'm so curious to see if any of you will guess what the number 1 palette is. Okay, now that you've guessed, let's move on. So in 10th place is the Moonstone palette by What's Up Beauty. This is my first time trying the brand, and I think they made a stellar little palette. So this reminds me of a lot of my favorite formulas. It has some great mattes, some beautiful metallics, a great everyday palette with a pop of color, and yeah, I just love it. I love doing grungy greens on my eyes, and it's a solid palette. Also, the brushes are fabulous. I've mentioned that time and time again. I'm constantly reaching for the blushes, and I think this is a cute palette. It reminds me of the Queen of Hearts palette from Colored Rain. The formula is very similar to that. Okay, in 9th place is the Nomad National Parks palette. This is so cute. I just love the attention to detail Nomad puts in their palettes, and I bought this one with my own money. I think this is so cute. I love the color story. It's a neutral / green palette. I have so many neutral / green palettes in my collection, you guys. Oh my gosh, I think I've even done a video about like my green eyeshadow palette collection. So this one's a half and half. There's some beautiful marble shades, some really pretty colors. I just feel like Nomad does such a fantastic job overall with their stuff. So that's why I'm ranking this in the 9th place. Okay, in 8th place is a ColourPop palette. Honestly, I didn't think I would be ranking a ColourPop palette in the top 10, but this High Tide palette really packs a punch. I've been loving all the color that ColourPop has been throwing my way, and I'm here for it. This is a solid palette if you're into teal, blue, greens, and it's super cute, and the metallics are also very solid in this palette, which makes me happy. If you don't like monochromatic palettes, you're probably not gonna like this one, but you can definitely do like a cohesive eye look with this, and therefore it gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, so in 7th and 6th place is 2 palettes from the Saga of Freya collection by Odin's Eye. So I have Cat's Breath and Amber Tears, and I still need to test out the big palette, the one that's double-sided. I haven't been able to play with that one yet because, again, I got a lot of eyeshadow palettes to get through, but these are so good. Odin's Eye has really stepped it up this year. Their metallics are on another level. Now, I still need to try the Norse collection palettes. Again, I will admit I neglect some of the things I buy, and it's on my list. It's definitely on my list, but these are so good. If you like this color story, I would highly recommend. Really like the metallics. Odin's Eye, when I first got a hold of their eyeshadow palettes, I thought they were okay, but I can definitely see improvement, and I feel like because of that, they definitely deserve to be in the top 10. Okay, in 5th place is this adorable palette. This is not new, but it's new to me. This is the Lore palette by Alien Cosmetics. I have a few other Alien palettes, but I think this one might be my favorite. Oh my gosh, the metallics in this are so gorgeous, so easy to use. The mattes, I feel like you can get these shades anywhere, but their metallics are so beautiful. The duochromes, I love the price point. My friend Heather and Angie both have codes with Alien, so I would recommend using a code. I haven't seen if they're doing anything new recently, but they're always a brand I check back on periodically in case they have something new. If you haven't picked this one yet, I would highly recommend. Okay, so this is where I cheated. In 4th place, I'm ranking the Sydney Grace X Temptalia collection. Again, this is a collection that I still need to test the palettes out. I've tried 2 of the palettes, I think, and I've swatched all of them, and they're so beautiful. It's just that I have so many other palettes that came through since this collection launch that I've been trying to get videos up for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and rank all of these together because they sent me the light and the dark version, and I personally think they're so similar. Whether you get the light or the dark, I think you're still going to be very happy. I am so grateful that Sydney Grace sent these over, and they're so beautiful. I did see they're also stocking Sydney Grace at Camera Ready Cosmetics. Now, I hadn't heard of the website before, but Teresa is Dead has been talking about them on her channel. They also carry Lethal Cosmetics on there, RCMA. There's a bunch of brands that they carry, so I would recommend checking it out if you want to shop on a site other than Sydney Grace. And I think Teresa has a code, GARBAGE, if you want to save money, or maybe you want to buy Teresa's palette and you want to pick up a few different things from a few different indie brands. That might be a fun option too. But overall, I think these palettes are so fun, and I think Temptalia did such a good job with them. So congratulations again to Sydney Grace and Temptalia. Love these palettes. They are so fun. They're also really heavy and very well made, as all of Sydney Grace stuff is. Okay guys, top three. What palettes haven't you seen? I know you guys know. I just know you guys know what my #1 palette is. Okay, so in 3rd place, it's so basic, but it's so beautiful. I love this palette so much. It's the Supreme Bronze palette by Artist Couture. Oh my gosh, I love this palette so much. I feel like this is the brown girl version of the Supreme Nudes palette. I mean, the Supreme Nudes palette works really well for me too, but oh, I love this color story. I love me a hot orange. I love me a beautiful yellow gold. Such a good formula. Reminds me of the original palette. If you're looking for a solid neutral palette, look no further. I really like this. There were a lot of misses from Artist Couture before they launched this one. Like, I really wanted to try like their Caliente palette. I really wanted to try their spring palette. I think it was called like Supreme Blooms or something. Such cute packaging, such cute color stories, but I just, you know, sometimes when you see an eyeshadow palette and you're like, that's the one. Those were not giving me those vibes, but as soon as I saw this one, I'm like, okay, I need to try that. I need to know if it's as good as the original, and it is, baby, it is. I think you could totally own both. Love this guy so much, so that is in the 3rd spot. Okay, in 2nd place, you know I had to pick this big old colorful palette from Glamlight and Michaela. This is so fun, you guys. The metallics in this palette are to die for. I'm so pumped, and there's so many fun, colorful shades in this palette. So very happy I was able to get my hands on this. I bought this with my own money, but I am a Glamlight affiliate, so if you've been eyeing this, I don't know if this is available or if it's in stock or anything. All my codes are always in my description box, and yeah, I really like this palette, and I had so much fun playing with it, and I want to play with it even more. And you guys know Glamlight has a very solid formula, so that is in 2nd place, which means I can't do it. Sorry, Teresa. I need to borrow your air horn, girl. Anyway, in 1st place, you guys knew, right? You guys knew I was going to talk about this Paris palette. This is legit. Like, way to go, BH Cosmetics. Hats off. You won June. Like, this is an amazing palette. The metallics are so good, chef's kiss, and the price point is great. The color story is really stepped up. I mean, I did do swatch comparisons to some of the shades in the Blueberry palette, some similarities, but whoever at BH decided to do the neutral red tones instead of the brown tones deserves a raise, because I think just changing that row really amped it up. And I love the inclusion of these beautiful dark mattes, because I always feel like I always get stuck with a brown dark matte, and I'm like, seriously, could you give me anything more boring than a dark brown matte? Like, that's one of my pet peeves with eyeshadow palettes, is when the only deepening up shade is a neutral brown. Like, what are you supposed to do with that? So I think this is an even better version of the Blueberry palette. So if you don't own the Blueberry, I say skip that one and go straight to this, because it's so freaking good. So very happy with that palette, and that is why it is #1 this month. Whew. Okay, I feel like I did a lot of talking in this video. That was a lot of work. Pat on the back to me for getting my rankings filmed, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Like I said in the intro, we have a declutter series going, so if it's your first time on my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. I don't want you to miss my declutter series. It's been so much fun going through all my makeup and all the things. I've got a bag full of makeup to declutter, so I'm very proud of myself, and if you want to see those videos, you gotta stay tuned. And yeah, that is it. Let me know what your favorite palette for the month of June was. Thank you guys so much for always supporting my channel, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!